I want to discuss finding a way through difficult times. Life can hit us hard sometimes, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But there's hope as we find through 2 Corinthians 4:7 to 9 and beyond. Even when the apostles faced intense suffering for sharing the gospel, they experienced incredible support. Paul writes that they were troubled on every side, yet not distressed. 2 Corinthians 4:8, King James Version. It's similar to how believers today can feel abandoned by friends while still knowing that God is always there for us. We might feel fear and fight external battles, but that doesn't mean we're defeated. Our struggles reflect the suffering of Christ, but also showcase his resurrection power at work in us. Paul goes on to say, persecuted but not forsaken, cast down but not destroyed. 2 Corinthians 4:9, King James Version. He always carried within his body the death of Jesus so that the life of Jesus could be visible in his own life as well. That's such a powerful reminder that even when we face trials, there's purpose behind them. The challenges we face are temporary, but they lead to eternal glory, which helps us persevere and not faint under pressure. Paul emphasizes that our faith is key here. He encourages us, saying, I believed, and therefore I have spoken. We also believe, and therefore we speak. 2 Corinthians 4:13, King James Version. It's this faith that combats despair and guides us through tough days, showing the world the power of Christ and how we can rise above our troubles. Let me share a quick story. Last week, Willene and I were catching up on some mail and came across a heartbreaking article. It was about a Presbyterian pastor who tragically lost his wife in a car accident while his daughter survived. A week later, he rewrote a sermon on the Lord's Prayer, preaching from a whole new perspective. It struck me how often people wonder, how am I going to get out of this? I was reminded of a story from Jan Koren's series about Father Tim and his wife exploring a cave. They got lost in that darkness and needed rescuing, showing how quickly we can lose our way. It was Father Tim's dog that helped the community find them. And I recently heard about Murdoch and Alice getting stuck in an elevator at Baptist Towers. You can imagine their thoughts. Where's the way out? There's also a powerful illustration from Dr. Chess Smith, who discussed the movie The Poseidon Adventure. This luxurious ship, once thought to be unsinkable, ultimately capsized. Amidst the chaos, a priest guided survivors towards safety, reminding them that the way out is the way up. They had to ascend through the ship, even walking up the trunk of an upside-down Christmas tree. This teaches us that in challenging situations, sometimes the way to safety involves a mindset shift. So let's think about 3 key ways out of our difficulties. The way out is the way up. When the Israelites faced struggles, they began to murmur and lost sight of God's goodness. They were discouraged and feeling low. That's when God sent fiery serpents as a wake-up call, prompting them to turn back to him. God instructed Moses to create a bronze serpent for the people to look up to for healing. Just as they do, we sometimes need a reminder to look up to God for our healing and guidance. It's about realizing that while sin and hardship can bite, looking up to Jesus can bring us back to life. The way out is the way through. Consider the Israelites as they passed through the Red Sea. It was a monumental event that demonstrated God's power. They didn't just escape, they went through the sea on dry land. This illustrates that sometimes Rather than being delivered from our problems, we must go through them. God doesn't promise us a life without struggles. He promises to walk with us through them. That experience took great faith from the Israelites, and it still calls us to trust Him during our trials. Third, the way out is the way ahead. Lastly, consider Lot's flight from Sodom. Even though he lingered, ultimately he couldn't look back. God's mercy helped him escape, but the command was clear: move forward. In our lives, we can't dwell on where we've been. We must focus on where we're headed. Luke 9:62 reminds us that anyone who looks back isn't fit for the kingdom. Just like that old Chevrolet I had that got stuck in second gear, our goal should be to keep moving forward regardless of the gear we're in. So remember, whether it's looking up, pushing through, or heading forward, there's always a way out because of our faith. Let's put our trust in God and keep moving toward the hope ahead.